It may feel a little bit like every other week there's a brand new electric car launched from another Chinese manufacturer. And this week it's all about Geely. And Geely are possibly not quite as unknown as you first realise. You see, they launched in China back in the 80s, and then in 2006 they were actually the masterminds behind the electric black cabs, the first kind of mass mainstream electric vehicles. Yeah, you're starting to realise now, right? 2010 they then acquired stakes in Volvo, and together since then they've been working on Volvo products. 2017 they also acquired Lotus. So there is loads of brands coming together which are in the background, which possibly we haven't realised about, but they've been working behind the scenes on their electric vehicles, and they're ready to launch their car in the UK. So this is the Geely EX5, and it's their first all-electric SUV for the European market, but launching in the UK. So if they've got all of that know-how dating back sort of 20, 30 years, it's got to be pretty good, right? Well, that's what we're going to find out in today's video. Hi guys, I'm Tish and welcome back to Auto Social UK. In today's video, I'm going to do my best to tell you everything that you need to know about the Geely EX5 and how it stacks up against the rest of the competition. Because when I tell you the pricing of this car right here, I think you're going to be quite surprised. So if that sounds good, then please keep watching. And if you like new car reviews and car content, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button. First of all, however, let me tell you the key stats and those all-important prices for the new Geely EX5. It uses a 60.22 kilowatt-hour usable LFP short blade battery designed for long life and serious safety. This is the one which has survived Geely's extreme puncture, crash and cold weather torture test. Official range is up to 267 miles WLTP, and in real world you're likely to be looking at low to mid 200s. Efficiency is helped by the standard fit heat pump, which keeps winter range dropped to a minimum, something that you don't always get at this price point. Power sits at 218 PS with 320 Nm of torque, giving you a 0 to 62 mph time of 6.9 seconds, plenty quick enough for a family EV, and the front-wheel drive setup feels stable and predictable. Charging is one area where the EX5 is fine but not class-leading. The 160 kilowatt peak figure looks strong on paper, but remember, LFP packs naturally charge slower, especially outside of ideal temperatures. Geely quotes a 30 to 80% charge in around 20 minutes, which is acceptable but not as punchy as some rivals. At home, a 7 kilowatt wall box will get you from 10 to 100% in roughly 6 hours. On the pricing front, the story gets much more exciting. The list price starts at £31,990, but the Geely EV grant knocks as much as £3,750 off, depending on trim, and that brings the max, that's the top spec car, down to £32,240, which is seriously aggressive, considering everything included. Then add on your choice of either a £499 Anderson home wall charger, worth £1,500 fitted, or a £500 Electroverse credit, plus £1,000 petrol or diesel part exchange bonus, and it becomes one of the best value EVs on sale right now. And to settle any nerves about buying from a new brand, you get an 8-year 125-mile warranty, 8 years on the battery and 4 years roadside assistance, plus 2 years of servicing included. Of course, when you're getting a new vehicle, the concern is going to be, is there the dealer backup? Well, currently there's 25 Geely dealers, and then following on by the end of the year, there should be around 50, and then going into 100 by the end of 2026, or at least that's their plans. So there's pretty good coverage. They're saying that they want a dealer to be within 40 minutes of most people, which is good news. But the great news for us over in Suffolk is actually my friends at John Gross have actually acquired Geely and will be selling them out of their Ipswich dealership, which is very, very exciting. So if you wanted to go and test drive the EX5 for yourself, then you can do that at John Gross Ipswich. I'll pop all the details down in the description box. So why don't we talk about the styling? Now, what I will say about the styling is overall I've been very impressed with most things when it comes to this car, but the styling maybe I'm very slightly disappointed. Like, come on, Geely. You've got some fantastic brands that you can take inspiration from, that you work with. I love Volvo's styling. I absolutely love Lotus's styling. And I feel like this is a bit of a lukewarm effort, really. It's not bad to look at, but it's just a bit, I guess, forgettable in a way. It's very much that jelly mould of the electric SUVs, and I do think that's a shame. Personally, looking at this car, the most inspiration I think that I get is it looks quite similar to the Genesis GV60, and that's no bad thing, but it looks like a Genesis GV60 if it was just dulled down a bit, which is a shame. But let's face it, if people want a car which is functional rather than flashy, this is probably spot on. So in terms of colours, there's some pretty uninspiring colours. This is the most interesting that it gets. So this is the jade green, and actually this looks really lovely, and it looks great with the interior, which I'll show you in a moment. It's a lovely light interior, which we know that I really appreciate on this channel. So these headlights here, these are multi-adaptive LED lights, and they can see up to 177 metres in front. Apparently these are pretty impressive. Now, as you can see, I don't think it's going to get dark anytime soon. I don't know how long me and Brian are going to take to do our reviews. It may be dark by the time we finish, but I don't think I'm going to get a chance to test those out. But they have told us that they are very impressive. And actually, when you look at the backing of all the technology that Geely do into their vehicles, I reckon they're probably spot on. So when it comes to talking about design, there's not a huge amount to talk about, is there? There's not really any dynamic angles or lines to talk about. It's just pretty... yeah, it's nice. It's not exciting, it's just nice. So the entry-level spec gets 18-inch alloy wheels, and then as you step up the range, you get 19-inch alloys, and I think they're in quite an attractive design. And as you can see, you also get these pop-out door handles as well, which aren't particularly my favourite. I quite like the fact that the whole time the car is unlocked, they're not popping back in, they're staying out, and that's actually my preference because it stops you from having to scramble around with those. So that is the front styling. Let's take a quick look around the back, and this is almost going to be off the cuff because I've just realised I've not actually looked at the back of this car until right now, so let's have a look together. Yeah, I guess that's not the excitement I was waiting for. It's nice, it's attractive, it's okay. You've got the light bar which spans the whole rear cross of the car. You've got a little spoiler up the top here which is body coloured, but you've got the gloss black just down the sides and around the edges. We have got a rear wiper, which is nice to see. But there's nothing which is particularly polarising in a positive or a negative way. It's just okay, which I think for most people who want their first electric vehicle is probably a positive. This is going to sound like a similar story to when I drove the Leapmotor B10, because I explained that on the exterior that car was very forgettable, but then all the personality was on the interior. And I think it's exactly the same inside here. I feel completely different emotionally wise when I get inside of the cabin. The exterior is just okay. In here, however, it's a real nice mix of feeling high quality and plush, and actually quite premium, but then interesting as well. So we have this massive screen in the centre here, which of course you're going to be drawn to straight away. And I really like this screen actually. Of course there are the negatives that pretty much everything is inside of the screen, which we know that is not really favourable amongst anyone out there. However, when it comes to the functions, I really like the fact that they haven't complicated it. So you have these really easy to read widgets, and also it's very similar to a smartphone. So the buttons here for the heated seats, you can hold down and then you can change their function. So if you'd rather have your massage seats as your shortcut, you can change that, which I think is really easy because it's just something we've come to know how to use with having our smartphones. And overall, it's pretty simple in its layout. However, Geely have said that it has a very intuitive voice activation system. So we're going to give it a go to open this beautiful sunroof. Open my sunroof. Okay, it worked.
I'm learning this function. Please.
She's still trying to talk to me. but she opened the sunroof just as it's about to rain and I'm about to get the interior a little bit drizzly. But that worked quite well, and they explain that you kind of need to get used to using these functions if you want to move around certain systems quickly. I'm actually going to ask her to close it again because it is literally getting drizzly.
How may I assist you?
Close sunroof.
Okay, closing the sunroof.
So while she's closing that sunroof, let's talk about this interior trim. So you can get a darker trim, which is almost like a navy blue, or you can get this lighter trim, which you'll pay a little bit extra for, but I think it's really worth it because it does just brighten up this cabin. These seats, you can see you've got a mix of kind of like perforated imitation leather down the centre, and then you've got this kind of like soft touch imitation leather. And I have just noticed you have also got ISOFIX footments on the passenger seat as well. Overall, everything feels very positive. I also like this centre console. It's kind of wrapped in this almost like wood effect, but then you have this detailing across it. It feels special and I really appreciate it. You've also got dippings of the ambient lighting, which you can see are just sitting underneath the dashboard here. And you do have just a little bit of trim of plastic underneath, which I wouldn't normally like, but it's hidden and it's just adding a little bit of texture. You can tell that they have put quite a lot into the thought when it comes to the design of the interior of the cabin. The centre console, the seats, that ambient lighting with the texture underneath. It feels like this is where they've put all the personality of the car. I just wish they could have done it on the exterior as well. Right, let's take it for a spin. So behind the wheel of the Geely EX5, and very boldly, I haven't turned off any of the safety assistance features, because recently when I drove the Mazda 6e, I mentioned how they had all of the features fitted, but you could kind of just leave them on as they weren't too intrusive. So in real time, let's find out if I can handle the amounts of bings and bongs which are featured in this car. I have a pretty low tolerance. So in terms of power, as I mentioned, this car has 215 brake horsepower, which is very similar to recently I drove the Kia EV4, and I said there that I think that 200 brake horsepower mark is perfect for electric vehicles. With it being electric, you do have the instant torque, which gives you the real burst of power when you need it, but I feel like 200 is the sweet spot. It's not too much. I think we've gone past the point of needing so much power in electric vehicles, and we've realised now that this is probably about right for most people. Enough power when you need it, but not too much that it makes you feel sick as your dad's accelerating around the back roads. Now, in terms of ride comfort, I think it's very well balanced, and overall I get a real feeling with this car that it's been well thought out in the way that it's been designed in its driving dynamics, because the steering has quite a nice weight to it. I'm in normal mode at the moment and it's certainly not too light. That was a complaint of the 6e, and I'm talking about cars that I've driven really recently that spring to mind, and the 6e was so light in normal you had to put it in sport to get any kind of feel through the wheel. But actually in the Geely they've done a really good job, and if you pop it in sport, of course it then weights up even further if you want a bit more connection, which I really like. It's probably on par with Kia's kind of experience when it comes to the weightiness of the steering wheel, and I think that's perfect for the European driver. Oh, there you go, that was a little bit of an intrusive one. I think we've worked out that that one's the lane assist, I think. Not too bad so far, but they are a little bit on the loud side. You'll have to let me know what you think down below. So power, great. Steering, great. Ride comfort, I think it's pretty good. You do feel the odd kind of like shudder through the real sharp potholes. I'm not on a particularly good road actually, and I do think it's handling it. There we go again. It's handling it pretty well. So talking about those safety features, this car is packed with every safety feature you could want and need. So you have the rear cross traffic alert, the active lane assist. That's what it's doing right now. This road's kind of like a little bit badly paved, so it can't quite work out, my goodness, where the lines are in the road. Now, the little slightly awkward thing about this car, which I know a lot of people are not going to be too pleased to hear, is there's no kind of automatic button for switching off your safety features or switching them onto your favourites. which means you have to go into the touchscreen and turn everything off every single time. But Brian pointed out to me, so I've been filming with Brian today, and he has told me that not only do you have to go into the touchscreen to turn off all of those bings and bongs, but every time you even go into park, it then turns them all off again, which, yeah, that is going to be a little bit irritating. I do wonder whether this is something with a little bit of feedback over time they may eventually change. And in terms of can I live with them, possibly not. So I would be wanting to turn them off every time I drive this car. But I guess it would just become a bit of a routine, right? As you get in and you kind of like adjust your seat, make sure you're comfortable, make sure you're at the right temperature, turn off the certain features you don't particularly like. I think it seems like an annoying thing to start with and oh god, I could never live with it. But I think you'd be surprised how quickly you'd get used to these kind of routines. So that's pretty much most of the stuff covered that I think the everyday person would be bothered about. Now, in terms of dynamics, I'm not exactly herring this car around. It doesn't really give me the need to do that. I'm driving this car in quite a relaxed manner, but it really is feeling quite planted. So I'm not feeling any body roll. It's not kind of like wafty in the corners. It feels quite composed. So again, that just feels like they have really thought about the engineering when it comes to this car. And for once, the whole kind of spiel they give you of, oh, it's been tuned for European driving conditions, they might actually be right on this occasion. Geely are very proud of their platform. They say that they've really extended the wheelbase of the Geely EX5 to give you the most amount of interior space, and that is really apparent. So the Geely EX5 is classed as a C-segment SUV, but it has the comparable space of a D-segment. I have got loads of legroom. This seat is in my driving position, and as you can see, I've got tons of headroom as well. Now, this panoramic sunroof, this comes on the top spec car, and I really think it's worth having. I mean, with those price points, you might as well splash the extra cash and go for the all singing, all dancing car, because it's bringing loads of light into the back here. But also, the light headlining is working as well. And once again, the light interior also helps to give it just that really like calming, spacious feel. Now, in terms of comfort, it's really good. So once again, you have that super soft imitation leather, and there's also lots of like kind of little cubbies and areas. So you've got a pull-out armrest, and we've got a couple of cup holders there. We've also got decent amount of storage in the doors. You've got the pockets on the backs of the seats. I've also got a USB and a USB-C, which I personally think is a really good thing because it means you've got options when it comes to charging. These seats can also sit up a little bit straighter, or they can recline as well, giving you just a tiny bit more boot space, or you can have this kind of like lounged feeling. And talking about lounging in the back, underneath these seats, we actually have an extra storage section which fits 14 litres, or, as displayed very nicely here, I have to say not by Geely themselves, this was my idea, it can fit 10 pint cans of Guinness. I think everyone at Geely kind of was a little bit concerned about me doing this, so I'm definitely not drinking or driving, but I thought it was a fantastic way of showing just how much you can fit in there. You can hide away all your secret snacks, or I guess realistically, rather than 10 pints of Guinness, you could put your laptop or something in there so it'd be nice and safe. But I think that's a really clever little extra amount of storage, because if the kids want to put their devices in there, there is just so many options. I think I'll save those for later. Just like the rear space, the EX5's boot is also well thought out. You get 461 litres with the seats up and almost 1,900 litres with them folded, comfortably in family SUV territory. The retractable parcel shelf is really good, so it slides away instead of becoming a giant board that you have to store somewhere, and the deep underfloor compartment is ideal for cables, dirty kit, or anything you don't want rolling around. The only real downside is that some of the boot plastics and trims just don't quite feel as premium as the rest of the cabin, but for usability perspective, this is one of the better laid out boots in its class. Let's face it, when you consider that price, all of the tech and the high quality feel inside of the cabin. This really is a very strong proposition in the electric car SUV market. Geely haven't come to mess around. They've come with a product at the right price, with the right amount of range, the right amount of charging, and also the right amount of equipment. They really wanted to make a stir, and I think they've done exactly that. If you are in the market for your first electric vehicle, this is a great jump. You can get that extra cash for your trade-in, but you can also get the money towards a wall box as well, and Anderson are one of my favourite wall box companies. They look really, really posh. So I think that Geely have really pulled it out the park with this one. But let me know, what do you guys think? Pop it in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings. I have a feeling that my audience are going to agree with me that this is just a little bit forgettable from the exterior, but at that price point, can you really complain? Thanks so much for watching this video today, guys. If you have liked it, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see more, then you know what to do. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Until next time, see you later.